Hello and welcome to Zero Cool Gaming and today's long play of Reckoning with commentary. Today I'm going to talk about corruption. And why do I talk about corruption? Because we have a lot of it here in the US. And as I've tried to point out on many of occasions, corruption is never right in your face. Never. It's always just beneath the surface. Because that's where it can fester. That's where it can get larger. And that's where it can cause problems. If you just take a surface level look at anything, you will never find corruption, period. That's how companies get away with it for, 20, 30 years before they're finally fined billions of dollars for the destruction of the environment around them. Or they just simply shut down facilities here in the US and move to countries that don't have such laws. And it doesn't matter how much they destroy the environment around them. This is a reality of corruption. It's never in your face. It's always just beneath the surface, festering and getting worse. Now, here in the US, we have the most secure elections in history. And let me explain to you why they are the most secure elections in history. Because of universal mail-in ballot, or universal mail-in voting. And it doesn't matter what name you apply to that for the particular state that it is in, because every state has a different name for it. But essentially what it means is that the state has printed up millions of ballots and mailed them out to people to be filled out and returned. That's what it means, to my understanding. That's my definition of universal mail-in voting. Now, the Democrats would tell you that it, not just the Democrats, your fake news media, your magazines, your entertainment, your movies, your late show, talk show hosts, all of them will sit there and tell you that universal mail-in ballot or voting is the most secure way to vote. And it's made our elections the most secure elections in all of history. Obviously. Now, the other part of the corruption is ballot harvesting, which is also legal in most states here in the U.S. To some degree. These two things combined create a system that is ripe for corruption. And you can see evidence of this fact in many countries that have implemented these laws of universal mail-in voting and ballot harvesting, and how corrupt their elections became as a result, how corrupt their political establishment became as a result. There are many countries that you can look at to see what happened to them as a result of these things. But not here in the U.S. Here in the U.S., it's the most secure elections in all of history. Because, of course, they are. So, regardless of the obvious lies, what type of corruption does this insanity actually lead to? Because it does lead to corruption. And what does that really look like? Well, one way that looks like is with just the ballot harvesting aspect of it. You end up with ballot harvesters that pay people for votes. That is corruption. Period. Excuse me, but it does. Excuse me, it doesn't stop there. Obviously. So where does it go next? Well, your mail-in ballots themselves, when combined with ballot harvesting, allow for a severe degree of corruption. Now let me explain to you how that works, because I know that there's going to be people that say, but there's protections put in place. Yeah, that's a lie. And I'm going to explain to you why that's a lie. Let's start with the mailing out part of this scenario. Now I understand that obviously none of this is actually happening, blah blah blah. It's just me talking about the possibility of corruption that exists. Period. So, alas, is a twisted tale. And what we have going on, you may stay, but the seat will never be filled by a mortal. Is you have these ballots that are mailed out to quote-unquote individuals, and each ballot has a number on it that is assigned to a particular person, and they are then checked against your driver's license to make sure that the signatures match, therefore giving you the illusion of security. Now let me tell you why it's an illusion of security. And I know this because I've read exactly how it's been corrupted in other countries. And the same things were used there. So it's not like this isn't a well-known, established means of corrupting elections, because it is. It's been done all around the world, repeatedly. And I guess you could say successfully, because it did turn the country into a, communist dystopia, a dictatorship. But regardless, I'm getting off track. In every single state that there is mail-in voting, those states, at some point in their history, and when I say their history, I mean within the last 15 years, have had their DOT, their DMV, their whatever you want to call it, their system that they keep electronic copies of every single driver's license issued has been hacked at some point or another. Some of them quite recently, some of them a while back, like I said, like 15 years ago. And our fake news media put out the fact that it's not something that we should concern ourselves with. It's not a problem because, they're not using it for identity theft. They don't know what they're using it for, but they didn't use it to steal people's identities, so we're okay, we're safe, we're fine. Okay. So the signatures and the names of every person, basically, who has a driver's license in that state has been stolen. Period. That's what that means. By someone. Don't know what they're using it for, but it has happened. That is fact. You can look it up. Now we flash forward to today. And I'm going to give you an example here so that you can understand how this works. And why it works. And why the corruption is a thing that is prevalent in every other country. but not here in the U.S. Most secure elections in history. So, let's say that they mail out 2 million ballots to their citizens of the, fantasy state that we're talking about here. And of those 2 million ballots that they mail out, 1 million of them are returned. So now they have the numbers of every ballot that's been returned, and they also have the numbers of every ballot that has not been returned. So, what's to stop a corrupt government from simply sending all of those ballot numbers out to printing places? And when I say printing places, I literally mean people's basements, to have those ballot numbers printed off by someone else for the explicit purpose of printing out a ballot essentially for them, since they didn't feel it necessary to return their ballots personally, for whatever reason that is. Now I know what you're saying, well that would never work because they don't have their signatures. Right. Which is where we go back to the fact that the DMVs in every one of these states have been hacked, and the signatures of every one of those people are in someone's hands, and nobody knows who. Corruption is never in your face, people. It's always right beneath the surface. Always. If it wasn't right beneath the surface, and it was right in your face, it wouldn't be allowed to persist. It would be discovered very quickly, and an end to it would be put. So, let's say that those people who are printing off ballots also have the names and signatures of every single one of those people that those ballots were supposed to be sent to. And in truth were sent to, but they chose not to send them back. Now their vote can be printed, their signature can be printed, and those ballots returned to be counted. And we have seen this happen in every single country that these laws were allowed to exist. But not here in the U.S. Most secure elections in history. Just ask your fake news media. They will absolutely confirm that fact. What can we do about it? I have no idea. Is there a way to fix it? Who knows? But it's blatantly obvious that I don't feel we're going to be allowed to vote our way out of this mess. That's just my opinion. What does that look like? What does that mean? Well, it means a lot of things, truly. But it means nothing good for us. Excuse me. So, I don't know what's going to happen, truly. I don't know how to fix the problem. Well, I do, but it doesn't seem like we're going to be allowed to in that respect. Because it seems like what's going to be allowed is we are going to have to be a lot more direct. It's going to take, at the very least, protests in the streets against this stuff. But, you know, I don't see people who are paying attention and know that what's happening is wrong and needs to stop. I don't see them putting an end to it. I don't see them going out and protesting this insanity. And I say that not to be mean. I say that because that's what's happened thus far. What's happened thus far is exactly that. People have not been... I mean, and not everybody. I mean, there's plenty of people who speak out against this insanity. Truly. But they're being talked over. Put down as conspiracy theorists and every other ism. You know, racism, much Nazism, much, you know, whatever else ism. Do I agree with it? No, of course not. But that's what's happening to these people. And I'm sure that's what'll happen to me. I'm much just isms because, you know, we don't like what you have to say, and what you have to say, they'll call it dangerous misinformation. Because of course it is. To these people. It's like it is in every communist dystopia. You say things we don't like. Therefore it's dangerous. You're harming people with your words. Yeah. It's like they used to murder people who dared to claim that the world was round. And demanded that such laws be implemented to prevent them from harming the good people of the country. Because obviously, their only purpose in trying to convince people that the world is round, oh my God, is that they want to harm people. So we should have the right to murder them for it. And they did. By the thousands. Dangerous misinformation. Do you see them going after and murdering the people today that believe that the world is flat? No? I wonder why that is. Are they really worried about dangerous misinformation? Or are they worried about protecting their lives? Just a question you might want to ask yourself.
Sir Sagro was a penny off the roll of great and merry cheer. Oh, come and listen to the song of he who had no fear, of he who we hold dear.
Oh, okay, so... Oh, that'll be nice. Excuse me. So yeah, how do you fight dangerous misinformation? You don't. Truly, you don't. And giving anyone the power to do so is not going to fight dangerous misinformation. It's only going to increase the amount of truth you're no longer allowed to see. I know. It seems wrong. It seems like that shouldn't be the way that it is. But okay, there's a good... I like that one. Let's go with that. Oh. Oh. That's why. Okay. Yeah, we've got problems in this country, that's for darn sure. And we got people who want to make those problems even worse. And they have, through executive powers. They started this insanity with executive powers. And they will continue to maintain it with executive powers until the country falls apart. And it will. This is not sustainable. And neither should it be allowed. There's a reason this type of stuff destroys countries. And has repeatedly throughout history. Those in power do not want to take any kind of responsibility for their actions. They've already given themselves laws that say they don't have to take any kind of accountability for their actions. And that they can't be held accountable for their actions. Now, through executive power, they've created laws that essentially will ensure that they remain in power indefinitely. And that's dangerous. It's not just dangerous, people. It has to stop. An end to it has to happen. Why would anyone who has a law at their disposal that says you can't hold me accountable for my actions, you can't hold me accountable for breaking whatever law I feel like, why would anyone who has those type of laws protecting them care to follow any laws that have already been set, when they know that they can just simply break whatever laws they don't like, through executive privilege change whatever laws they don't like, and be damned whatever, damage it causes to the general public, because it's not like they care. And why would they? Truly. Why would any of these people care?
And drunk from such idle pleasures, with lethargy was seized, on beds of grass. Bring it nearby. Come.
I know that sounds kind of cynical, but that's the reality of where we're at in this country right now. None of it is good. None of it is right. None of it should have happened. But it did. And now we have to fix it. Because if we don't, the by any means necessary people will continue to grow in power, will destroy this country, and then they will blame you for every bit of it. They will take zero accountability for their actions. Because they don't have to. And the law says they don't have to. In fact, the law says you can't hold them accountable for their actions.
How can this be? Sir Sagro dead? I do not understand. Such a tragedy has never occurred in this song. Not in all the seasons of the telling. Sagro defeats the grave thresh.
So yeah, there's problems, to say the least.
The song of Sir Sagro.
But we have the most secure elections in history.
I do not like this.
Just ask, and they will tell you. Yeah, I know it's wrong. Yes, I know it shouldn't happen. Yes, I realize that there are people trying to put an end to it. But it didn't work the last election cycle. And it really didn't work this election cycle. And I see that becoming the norm. Where every election cycle, what should happen never does, and we are told to just accept.
A sudden sound and fearsome roar awoke our hero
Over
from his rest.
and
The
over
maid of Windermere had
and
flown
over again.
the grave thresh from its nest to halve her behest.
Do I think that's how it should be? No. I've never thought that. But then again, most of my life, I never thought it would get this bad. Well, I probably shouldn't have let that happen, but, you know, whatever. What do we do? How do we put an end to this insanity? How do we stop our own government from destroying the country that we live in? That's really what the question here is. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. I could give you an ideological response, but that wouldn't solve anything. Certainly wouldn't make anything better. But yeah, most secure elections in history, obviously. I mean, how could the fake news media be wrong? So, I'm going to call that my rant for the day. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of yours. Oh yeah, like, subscribe, hit the Rumble button. You know, the buttons down below. If you could hit those, it would really help. I think it saves and loads when it does this. It seems to, anyway. So, but I'm going to save anyway, and I'm going to save it right here. That's not the button. And then I'll come back later and we'll continue another discussion. Probably about something a little happier, truly. Because this has been pretty down. Because I'm down. I am not in a happy mood, truly. And for lots of reasons. A lot of those reasons have to do with the fact that my country's going to hell in a handbasket. And it's my government doing it. That's kind of depressing. In and of itself. Anyway, like I said, that's my rant for the day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of yours.